ambitions, I'll be doing a Q&A video of the poem Midterm Break by Seamus Henny. But before we go to any exam Q&A questions, we always read the poem first. So this poem is Midterm Break by Seamus Henny. Let's read the poem. I sat all morning in the college sick bay, counting bells, nailing classes to a close. At 2 o'clock, our neighbor drove me home. In the porch, I met my father crying. He had always taken funerals in his stride, and Big Jim even saying it was a hard blow. The baby cooed and laughed and rocked in the pram. When I came in and I was embarrassed by old men standing up to shake my hand and tell me they were sorry for my troubles. Whispers informed strangers I was the eldest. Away at school, as my mother held my hand in hers and coughed out angry tearless sighs. At 10 o'clock, the ambulance arrived with the cops, stanched and bandaged by the nurses. Next morning, I went up into the room. Snowdrops and candles stood at the bedside. I saw him for the first time in 6 weeks. Paler now, wearing a poppy bruise on his left temple, he lay in a 4-foot box, as in his cot. No gaudy scars, the bumper knocked him clear. A 4-foot box, a foot for every year. This is such a sad poem. It's extremely sad. This stanza here is repeated, so just forgive me and bear with me for that mistake. Anyways, I'm going to set up this Q&A questions. There's a list of Q&A. There's a list of questions here. I will give the answers in some time. I'm just going to leave this onto the screen for a few minutes so you can screenshot it and do the answers on your own, and I will give you the answers later on in this video. Anyways, as I leave this on onto the screen, I would like to explain to you what the poem is about. So, this poem, Midterm Break, now, it's about the poet. So, he is away at boarding school, so he's still a child, he's still in school, and now he is on his midterm break, so he's gonna go home. And we know this in South African terms, midterm break usually means your June winter school holidays, you would say. So he goes home, but it's not going home to a happy holiday vibe, happiness, going out and partying and no homework, no stress. He's going home to a sad, mournful household. So it's technically not the best midterm break, you could say. So it's very contradictory to the actual poem reflecting to the title. So, anyways, his younger brother, who was only 4 years old, was knocked in a car accident. And this poem is basically demonstrates the mourning and about how the family mourning has to go throughout the poem when there's a time of death. How does it affect the family? And this poem really demonstrates how it affects individuals, such as the poet and the poet's mother and father, in terms of the way they express their pain. It also demonstrates how the sister, well, a baby, does not know or understand any of the pain. So she is still happy, she is still smiling because she's unaware of the pain around her. And it also shows that this boy who died is his younger brother, and that when this accident happened, he did not suffer any pain as he was knocked clear, as he died immediately. A very sad poem, extremely sad poem. I'm just going to move to the next slide. So I hope you took down these questions and you've written down all the answers, because I'm going to go to the answers now. So a kneeling refers specifically to the slow summer ringing of church bells to announce a death or funeral by using this word instead. It's how Henny introduces an omnivorous mournful atmosphere early on. So it's basically foreshadowing the tragic that the family's death is going to come later on. This is number one. Let's go to number two answer. The poem states that the father had always taken funerals in his stride. So now usually would show a static, emotional, strong man who handles grief well. Seeing him weep on the porch completely upends the traditional mid 20th century family dynamic. This uncharacteristic emotional breakdown emphasizes that the specific loss is uniquely devastating and unbearable for the family. Next, we have the poet uses juxtaposition. So, juxtaposition is contrasting concepts put together side by side. That is basically what juxtaposition is. And the infant sister, so the baby now, is oblivious actions are presented here. As she cooed and laughed in the pram. Cooed is a sound that babies make. And cooed is also onomatopoeia. So if you don't know what juxtaposition and onomatopoeia are, then please check out my other video where I specifically do a poetic devices analysis on this poem. I will link it down in the description box below so you can check it out after you check this. Then we continue. So they are placed directly alongside the heavy, suffocating adults' grief filling the house. The stark contrasts highlights the total innocence of the infancy and emphasizes how sudden and cruel the older brother's childhood innocence has been shattered by death. Okay, so now the brother is taking up the adult role here. Question answer number 4. Instead of using graphic or violent descriptions of a car accident, Henny uses a gentle, natural metaphor. So, metaphor, again, poetic device that you should see in my other video. A metaphor is basically when it's a direct comparison, comparing two things. Then a poppy bruise is a bright red flower traditionally associated with sleep and peace and warmth and remembrance. And the poppy bruise. Now, bruise is very contradictory to this word. Has bruise means harsh and violent, and the word poppy means sleep and peaceful. So it's very contradictory here, as the two mean total opposite meanings. This imagery softens the appearance of the head on the head wound, making the child look like he is peacefully sleeping rather than dead, which reflects the speaker's state of protective emotional shock. Has puppy bruise on his left temple means that this child got hit on the head, on his left side of his head. The final lines stand completely isolated in answer 5 has a single line stanza and it breaks the poem's established structure. Has each stanza had 3 lines. Okay, if you go back and see, each stanza had 3 lines, except for the last stanza, because the last stanza only had 1 line. And this structural isolation forces the reader to pause and creates a cold sense of absolute finality by linking the traditional mathematical measurements to the coffin directly to the child's age. So in the second last stanza, we find out that this child is 4 years old because he says a 4 foot box, a foot for every year. So Henny strips away all poetic comforts to leave the reader with a raw, unadorned tragic of life cut. That life is cut short. The word this is missing the T. Yeah. Anyways, that is all for this video. If this video helped you in any way, then please like and subscribe, and please drop a comment below. I would love to see your comments. See you in the next video.